$1 million quartet or something?
Good morning on this beautiful day. I hope everybody survived that little rainstorm we had last night.
My tree did.
But it looks like a nice day today. I'm sorry for the little delay we had. We had a little snag here, but I think we got it now. So, June 11th. Please silence your cell phone. I will not silence my cell phone. I'm expecting an important phone call this morning, and I have to take it whenever it comes. So I'm not sure if it will come during the meeting or not. I've kept my phone within arm's reach all morning. The first senior moment. Now we know what happened to the dinosaurs. Our agenda, normal financial report, lab improvements, membership, computer club matters, classes, and officer election and feature presentation. Our financial report, we got a lot to do today, so I'm not going to read all the numbers to you, but you can see them. Right now, our available cash is $12,750. Our total cash with the CD account that we just purchased, that's until December 4th, is $18,129.52. Our major equipment, with just about everything purchased now for the lab improvements, there may be a few incidentals, but we're well within the $24,000 that you had approved for us to spend. In the Grafton Food Pantry, we up from January till now, we've given them $641.02. The lab desk process, same picture you've been seeing, it still looks the same, but good news is they've finally been shipped. I had the tracking number and everything. It's due to be delivered this afternoon. I have an appointment between 12 and 3, so it'll be sometime this afternoon. That's the phone call I'm waiting. My text kind of wrapped on this background. That's my important phone call I'm waiting for, to give me a more exact time so I can let the association know for them to send some people over to get those things in the building. Because it's like 650 pounds, and it says one, so I don't know, if it's all one package, I don't know what it's going to look like. But they're going to come over and help us out, so I need to give them a time. So that's the phone call I'm waiting for. So if it rings and I answered it, it's not my wife calling me or anything.
Your lawyer.
Our total membership until about a week ago was 1,446 members. We are growing. We're getting more members, and that's encouraging. We had 141 that were due for renewal, and up to last week, 67 had already renewed. So there's 74 left to renew. Now, if you want to take advantage of the early renewal discount, that's $10. Make sure you renew by June 30th. June 30th is a Tuesday, and our lab is open Tuesday night till 9 o'clock. So you have until 9 o'clock that Tuesday night. And hopefully we're not going to have a line out the door. So do it early. Our computer lab, full service hours. I've been pushing this, and I've got assurances now that next month it will be in Lifestyles. I've been trying since January, and it has not been in Lifestyles. So they've guaranteed, I talked to the association, to a few people, they've guaranteed me that it will be in Lifestyles next month. So, but our normal hours, 9 to noon on Monday and Thursday, Tuesday 6 to 9 p.m., Wednesday 1 to 4 p.m. We're there full service, take care of anything that you need. So take advantage of the services that you pay for as a member of the club. The subgroup meetings held in the computer lab, the Apple group meets the second Tuesday of each month at 2 p.m. Photography group the first Wednesday of each month at 7 p.m. And sometimes I know that the photography group has some kind of a social hour or pre-meeting presentation or something at 6 o'clock, but I'm not sure when they do that and when they don't, so I didn't put it on here. But if you become a member of the club, I'm sure they'll notify you when that will be or when that won't be, how often they do it. Computer Club publicity. You've been receiving Computer Club notifications, newsletter from Frank Leonardi. Frank has resigned from his position, and we thank Frank for all of his work that he's done for us. But from now on, you'll be receiving all our club publicity from Susan Caraher. She's involved in a couple other clubs too. And I met with her yesterday with Lisa, and she's all filled in on how to do the meeting announcements and everything. So, but you'll see emails coming from her. So if you see an email from her, I don't know who that is. Delete. No, just read it. It's club information. Next month's meeting. What does your car know about you? Your car knows a lot more about you than you realize. Your car holds a great deal of information about your driving habits, how if you accelerate hard, if you brake hard, if you turn fast, your phone and infotainment information, all your contacts, your text message, metadata, a lot of information. Vehicle maintenance, how often you go past that warning for change oil. Does that data get erased when you sell or trade in your car? Maybe. Depends on who you're selling it to or trading it into. What can you do to ensure your data security? So I'm going to be talking to some dealers to see what they do. It should be a good meeting. It's something you probably want to listen to. Our Computer Club classes, Android phones, oh, that one's gone. Apple iPhone, that was yesterday. Apple Watch, that's June 16th at 1 p.m. And if you've got an Apple Watch and don't know how to use it or are interested in purchasing an Apple Watch, I'm sure Marlene would help you with any questions you have on your Apple Watch. Android phones, Steve will talk about Android phones on June 30th. And it's not just a presentation. He's there to help you with any questions you may have, any problems you may have with your phone. So it's more of a work session than an actual presentation class. And Eric does the iPhone class too, and he does a good job of taking care of that. So, and that's the same thing. I don't know. Do you do somewhat of a presentation and then questions? Okay. Yeah, so Eric is the one who records our meetings too, so thank you, Eric. A problem that we had just this week, if you bring in things for recycling, we need your user IDs and passwords on many of these devices, especially on phones. We can't erase your phones unless we can get into it. And if we can't get into it, there's not much we can do. And as we discovered this week, we can't even destroy it. We tried, and we filled the lab with smoke. I mean, with hard drives, if it's something that we decide, yeah, we're not going to recycle this, or we can't, maybe it's got BitLocker, we can't erase it, so we'll sometimes just drive a screwdriver through it, and it breaks the little disc in there, and nobody can read anything off of it anymore, so then we can just throw it in the recycle bin, and it's gone. So we had a phone that we couldn't get into, we couldn't erase it. So, well, we can't let this, there may be data on here, we don't know. So we tried that same method. We drove a screwdriver through it, and it went right through the battery. You don't want to do that to a lithium-ion battery. That thing started billowing white smoke, and it smelled terrible, and we had to get a fan and blow it. It was a situation. So we do need to get into these devices in order to recycle them.
Ken,
Yeah.
just to point out, the Android class is coming up on the 30th, is 9:30 a.m.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, 9:30 p.m. would be a little too late. The building would be closed. I'm sorry.
I thought Android might do this too, but on Apple devices, all you have to do is go to your current Apple device if you have one and log that device out of your Find My, and that will take care of erase the phone. It can erase your device even if it's not with you. So that is a way.
Okay,
to take care of
I'll have to repeat that because I don't think they can hear you.
Go ahead.
If I can remember it all. Yeah, on your iPhone, you're saying that if you go into
Find My device.
Find My devices and you remove that device from your Find My list, that it will erase all your data. And so you can do that yourself before you bring it in, so you don't have to give us your login information. Okay, yeah, and the Android phone, I'm sorry, 9:30 p.m. the building's closed. It's 9:30 a.m. And we need, you can't read it on the bottom, it's off the screen. We need members to become instructors. Now that we're getting these tabletops, and we'll be setting those up soon, and they should be delivered today. When we get those all set up, then I want to start offering classes. And if you have an idea for a class, talk to us. If you think you might want to teach a class, talk to us. I'd be happy to help anybody get started. And I'll be there for the first session or two to help you. One of my goals is to offer more classes, and we need instructors to do that. We can't do it all. Our current officers, I'm Ken Zerwinski, president, that's me. Vice president, now we have a vice president. Barb Spence has stepped up, and our bylaws say that when there's a vacancy, if someone indicates an interest, the board can decide. And I polled the board, and they approved Barb as the vice president. So we have Barb. Thank you, Barb, for stepping up. Barb is also doing our membership. She's the one who processes your renewals and your applications. Secretary Eileen Gerald, I don't know if Eileen's here today. There she is. Thank you, Eileen. And our treasurer, Doug Nagel, I see him back there. So that's our current officers, but we have an election today. So any one of those 4 positions is open for a volunteer to run. So if anyone has an interest in running for one of those offices, well, John Sterling's going to talk about that. But right now, all 4 of these officers have agreed to run again.
We've got to elect officers in order to stay a legitimate charter club. So let's have a vote on these 4 people. For treasurer, Doug Nagel. Doug, could you stand up?
Well, are you going to ask if there's any other candidates?
Are there any other?
I think you turned it off.
Are there any other nominations for treasurer? That being said, Doug Nagel is elected treasurer by acclamation. For secretary, Eileen Gerald.
Gerald.
Are there any other nominations for secretary? Then Eileen is elected by acclamation. For vice president, Barb Spence is nominated. wave at that. Are there any other nominations for vice president? And Barb is elected by acclamation. For president, Ken Serwinski. Are there any other nominations for president? And Ken is elected by acclamation.
That's it? Okay. Well, thank you, everyone. It's nice to have your confidence in all of us. I think we have a good team between us and the rest of the board members. You have good representation. And in addition to that, I'd like to thank all the other volunteers, all the lab workers, and we have a lot of good people. And our people who do the donuts and all the ones that you don't realize what kind of work they do. It takes a lot to run a club this size. So, and here we are at our main presentation. You ready?
Okay. Here. I'll get the. This. Here.
Leave that cord in there.
You want to leave it in? Okay.
Yeah,
All right, yeah, just set it up there.
Oh, let me get my coffee and donut.
Watch the cords.
Okay, great. Thanks
I'll
a lot.
put them on the floor.
Get my coffee and donut.
I think that'll work. Good morning, everyone. So this morning we're going to be talking about how to buy a new computer. And we're going to give you the who, what, when, where, why, and how of it. And here. So, how many of you are actually looking for a new computer right now? Either to replace a Windows 10 computer or just to get a new device? So, show of hands, we see a few of you, yeah? So hopefully this, this presentation will be valuable for you. We're going to talk about all the various different options, everything from tablets to laptops, desktops, and just as we've done in the lab, we've gone to mini PCs, and we'll talk about some of those as well and show you all the different options you may have. Because it's not just a desktop computer anymore. There are a lot of different devices that you can use as a computer, including your phone. So, how many of you still have a computer with Windows 10 on it? Oh, we still have quite a few. So if you have Windows 10, hopefully you've all seen the screen that's on there right now, and you've enrolled in the Microsoft ESU, the Extended Security Update Program. It's a free program, and I believe you can still get into it. What it does is it allows you to get updates, security updates only. There's no more quality updates, no more functional type of updates being added to Windows 10, but you want to make sure you're not going to be subject to malware, so you do need the security updates, and they're only going to be supported until October 13th, but only if you've enrolled. So hopefully you've seen this, you've enrolled, and you're set at least through October of this year. Of course, we never know. Microsoft may decide to extend it another few months or another year. We don't know, but we'll see. Right now, it's only until October of this year.
Shelley, tell them where to find that, updating security, see if they were enrolled or not.
Well, yeah, I mean, you would know if you've already enrolled in the ESU program. If you need to enroll, you can you can just go to the Windows Updates, and it'll show you on the Windows Updates to enroll. It'll give you the prompt to update. If you're not sure how to do it, just come into the lab, and we can assist you with that. So, okay, the next question is, when's a good time to buy the computer? Or a tablet or a laptop or whatever you might be interested in purchasing. Of course, any day is a good day, but you want to get it at the lowest possible price. So the best times of the year to look, Amazon has, throughout the year, they usually have a couple of what they call Amazon Prime Days. The next one coming up actually is quite soon, June 23rd to June 26th. So even if you're not an Amazon Prime member, if you are, they give you some pretty good values during that period. In fact, they start even a little bit early. They've already started lowering prices on that. But all the other major establishments have to compete. So they will come up with similar pricing. So you will see similar pricing from Walmart and Target and all the various entities. In fact, Walmart usually starts even earlier than Amazon Prime. They want to get you to get a jump on it. The other thing you can wait for is usually around July, you start to see all the back-to-school sales. That's a good time as well. If you want to wait till the fall, well, Black Friday comes in November. Of course, that's after October 13th, but that's also a great time to buy. It's usually one of the lowest prices of the year. So that's usually the the best times of the year to buy. But you just want to check and see what goes on sale and so on, because you'll see pricing price reductions throughout the year. Okay, so the question is, where can you look to buy a computer or a tablet? If you're a Costco member, Costco is a great place to buy a computer. They give you a few things you don't get elsewhere. One is the ability to, you can use the computer for up to 90 days if you find that you've got problems with it, or you just don't like it, you can return it. And if you're using a Costco credit card to purchase it, they give you an extra year on the warranty. So that's like, in some cases, if it's a 1-year warranty, that's doubling the warranty. And they also have a concierge service, so if you're having problems with it, of course you can always come into the lab, but they also give you a phone number, and you can call that phone number, and they'll assist you over the phone with any issues you might have. Walmart, they're across the street, so that's pretty convenient, and that's a good place to buy a computer as well. Whether you find it in the store or just like Amazon, you can also order it online and then either have it delivered or pick up in the store. Best Buy has always been a great place to shop for electronics, and so that continues to be that. The Algonquin store is closed, but they're still around in Crystal Lake and elsewhere. Amazon, of course, if you like to shop online, you can find pretty much everything you want on Amazon. All of the major manufacturers have also started to sell direct to the consumer as well. So if you go on any of the major vendor sites, manufacturer sites like HP, Dell, Lenovo, and et cetera, you'll find that you can not only look to see what their latest offerings are, but you'll find that they have a store, an online store where you can purchase it. And throughout the year, they will also put many of these items on sale. So, and there again, they're also competing with the Amazon Prime Day special, so you'll see similar pricing to the Prime Day pricing. And also, if you're looking for, let's say, a used computer, don't overlook the Sun City ads. You know, maybe one of your neighbors or friends in Sun City who's selling a computer or a tablet that may only be a couple of years old, still quite usable. So that's also an option. So the question is, what do you want to buy? What you buy should really be determined by how you use a computer. Because if you are just using a computer to, let's say, browse the internet, maybe check your email, you know, maybe you don't even need a full-fledged computer. Maybe a tablet will do, or even your phone if you don't have, you know, really heavy usage. So you really want to look at how you're using the computer. If you're doing more involved things, such as doing video editing or photo editing, of course, then you'll need some sort of a good quality computer to do that. If you're into gaming, if you're not going to get a separate gaming unit, you want to use a computer for that, let's say to do PC games, you'll need a good computer for that as well. If you're using any kind of complex software, so you have not web apps or browser apps, but actually, let's say you're doing financial things or whatever complex software, maybe you might still be doing development of certain things, then you may want to purchase a computer as well. So, but the idea is you want to buy what you need, not necessarily just because that $2,000 computer you saw on sale looks like the greatest thing on TV that they're showing right now. So just look at your own needs. Everyone has different needs and different uses for how they use the computer. So what you use the computer for and where you plan to use it will help determine which kind of computer is best for you. The operating systems that are currently used on computers, of course on the Microsoft PCs, we have Windows. The Apple computers, you're going to have Mac OS. And if you're looking at Google Chromebooks, and we'll talk a little bit about that, but those are kind of being transitioned out as Chrome OS. We'll also look at tablets, because a tablet actually can serve as a computer. A tablet is basically, it's kind of like a large phone. It may have a touch screen just like your phone does. You can attach to some of them, you can attach a keyboard or a mouse or even a stylus if you don't want to use the touch screen. So it almost becomes like a computer. So you want to choose a device that's compatible with the most recent OS. It's also convenient if you try to stick to the same ecosystem. So, you know, if you're in the Apple world and you have an iPhone, you may find that it's easier for you to work with let's say an iPad or a tablet or laptop. If you're in the Android, if you're using an Android phone, you know, maybe you want to get something that's more compatible with that. The brands, well, you know, all of the manufacturers make a lot of these devices. So for tablets and for computers, you're going to have Apple, Acer, Asus, Dell, Lenovo, HP, Samsung. So the same manufacturers that you see making all the different electronic devices. So let's first talk about tablets. What is a tablet? It's basically a mobile computer device. It has a touch screen and it has a rechargeable battery. So it's like a computer, but it's also like a smartphone with a larger screen. And usually you find phones, your smartphones go up to about 7 inches or so, although now they're starting to make the folding phones. How many of you have one of the new folding phones that open up into a tablet, so you can actually use a phone now as a tablet? That's also an option. But tablets, if you're buying a dedicated tablet, those usually start around 8 inches or so. You might still see some 7s, but usually they're about 8 up to about 13 inches or so. You basically use a tablet either as Wi-Fi, because you have to have the internet to work with a tablet. Unlike a PC, where you can use a PC whether you have internet or not. With a tablet, you basically want to connect to the internet because you're working with browsers and the like. They have some that'll work with cellular connections. They're not usually cellular, but you can get some tablets that do work with cellular connections. Initially, the tablets ran on mobile operating systems just like phones. So you had Android and an iOS for the iPads. But now you can get tablets. They're basically small laptops. You can get them with a keyboard, with a stylus in many cases. A lot of times they'll do handwriting recognition as well. So if you're using it with a stylus, you can just use your stylus to take notes on it, and it'll convert it to text. Of course, these days now with AI, people are no longer typing, they're just talking into their device. So that's another option you want to look into, especially if you're not a good typist. There's also what are called 2-in-1 computers. And a 2-in-1 computer is kind of a laptop that folds over into a tablet. So it's kind of like a hybrid tablet and laptop. And so that's also an option. We'll take a look at 1 or 2 of those. So tablets have been around for a long time. Android tablets were introduced in 2008. And the iPad, I believe, came out 2 years later, around 2010. So they've been around for a while. So the options for tablets, you have Android tablets, you have Chromebooks. Microsoft has the Microsoft Surface, which has been popular for a long time. You have the 2-in-1s that I just talked about. And then in the Apple world, you have the iPads and there are the MacBooks. And Jerry's going to talk about some of the Apple products later. So why would you want to pick a tablet? Well, tablets are very portable, just like your phone. It's larger than a phone, so you can use it more like a laptop type of thing, but they're portable, so you can travel with it. It's good for casual use. You can take it out on your patio, use it outdoors. Whenever you want an inexpensive device, it can be handy. If you want to read a book or watch a movie or something on it, you can do that. So there are a lot of good uses for tablets. So it depends on how you're using the computer. But the one thing you want to remember with a tablet is that you're basically either using a browser to browse the internet, or you're using apps, pretty much. So what you want to do is decide, what type of things you really do use a computer for, and how you would be using that. So tablets are going to be smaller. They don't weigh as much. They're usually less than about 2 pounds or so. So it's much lighter than a laptop might be. It's very portable, and yet you can still do a lot of the same things that you can do with a laptop. It has a longer battery life than a laptop, and although these days laptop batteries have improved quite a bit, and now you can go pretty much a whole day, at least a whole day, without having to recharge your battery, as long as you start out with a fully charged battery. Tablets, as we mentioned, they do have a touch screen. So just like your phone, you don't even need a keyboard, but if you need a keyboard, they've got a virtual keyboard that you can bring up on the screen. On some of them, you can add a mouse and a keyboard, a real keyboard, but of course then that's making it a little bit less portable and something extra to bring along. So they're going to be less expensive, lighter, and portable, basically. And they're designed for media consumption. So if you're doing a lot of things like watching videos, listening to music, reading books, ebooks, playing games, reading digital magazines and newspapers, it's a great device to use for that. So you might pull up Netflix, watch movies, you can do streaming on it, that sort of thing. You can always get ebooks. Hopefully most of you are familiar with Libby and Hoopla from the library, where you can borrow ebooks and magazines and audiobooks, and that's something that you can easily use a tablet for. Or watching movies. The library also has Canopy, where you can borrow movies to watch. Okay, so a tablet usually is going to come in a smaller size than a laptop, so you're really talking, maybe 8, 10 inches, may get up to like 13 inches or so, but that's the real high end, whereas the laptops usually start where the tablets leave off and go up from there. So your typical laptop is going to be 15, 16, or even 17 inches or so. A tablet is it's a smaller device. It's usually going to have a lower powered processor, the CPU. They're starting to use ARM processors, similar to what they use on a phone, on tablets. So those are going to may not be quite as powerful as what you might get with a computer, but they do have the advantage of having a much longer battery life. So they require less power. There's no big fan needed in there to cool it down. So you don't have to worry about putting it in your lap and feeling the heat as it heats up that you might have from a laptop, let's say.
Joey,
Yeah.
when you use a touchscreen digital pen, and you also mentioned a virtual keyboard, I'm not familiar with those terms. I mean, I've used a tablet, I use an iPad, but what?
Well, we're basically talking, the same thing you might have with a phone. Okay, you have a touch screen, so you're using you're not usually using a regular keyboard. On your phone, if you need to type something in, it brings up a keyboard virtually on the screen of your phone, and similarly to the tablet, although the tablet's going to have a much larger virtual keyboard than you might have with a phone. And a digital pen or a stylus it's basically that. It looks like a pen, but there's no ink in it. It's virtual ink, but it lets you write, and you can see what you're writing just with handwriting right onto your laptop or onto your tablet. Okay, so the things you look for with a tablet, you're going to look for the size, the screen size. You want to keep it within your budget. You want to look for the resolution. Usually the size, you're going to, as we said, maybe from 7 inches on way up to about 15 inches even. If you're looking for something portable, 11 inches is usually a good way to go. If you need a larger screen, 13 is going to be on the larger end, but that's basically kind of like a laptop replacement. And you got to realize that if you're going with a larger screen, it's going to make the tablet heavier. So it's all a question of what your needs are, and of course what your budget is. The larger ones are going to be a little bit more expensive as well. So is this going to be your primary device, or is this going to be a secondary device? If it's primary, you may want to put more money into it. So, you know, as I started off saying, you know, you want to see, you know, how are you really using the computer or a tablet before you decide what to buy. And basically, so these are the choices that you have. You have Android tablets, you have the Chromebooks, Microsoft Surface 2-in-1s, and iPads. And here's some photos of those. Google started off making a Google Pixel tablet that's been discontinued. The Amazon tablets I would stay away from for the time being. They used to be kind of an offshoot of Android, but now they're switching to a new OS, and so it really hasn't taken off the ground yet. So you probably want to stick with some of the other tablets that are out there. Here's something that just came out, brand new. It's available from Walmart. And you know, Walmart has their own brand that they sell. It's called ONN On. And they came out with these 3 tablets, which have gotten really good reviews. And they've got one that's a 13-inch. They have an 11-inch and an 8-inch. So they got all 3 sizes. And so the smaller one is $138. And then you've got the mid one is $167, and then $288. It's a really good quality at a much lower price than what you might pay for, let's say, a Samsung. These would be Android tablets. So if you're looking for an Android tablet, Samsung is, you know, they've got the market on Android tablets, but they're much higher priced. These are really good, similar to what you might get with a Samsung. I'm not going to talk much about the iPads because Jerry's going to be coming up to tell you more about the Apple products. But of course, the iPad is out there if you're looking for an Apple tablet. As far as tablets go, this chart is actually a couple of years old, but it's still pretty similar. As far as tablets go, iPads, or the iOS operating system, has about 52% of the market. Android, about 47.5%, and everything else, the rest of it. You don't find too many Windows tablets still around. They did make them, but they're hard to find these days. So it's best to stay with whatever your current device family is. Like I say, you know, if you're currently using an iPhone, you'll find it's easier to switch to an iPad. If you're currently using an Android phone, you'll find it's easier to use an Android tablet. Just a tip when you're setting up a tablet, if you're buying a new tablet, you know, the people pick up a tablet and they say, oh, I've got all these apps on my phone, I'm just going to copy all the same apps that I have on my phone right onto the tablet. Don't do that. All that's going to do is going to slow down your tablet. So just pick the apps that you're really going to use and just install those. Okay. Chromebooks. Chromebooks are actually being transitioned out, so I will mention it. But Chromebooks are basically, it's a web-based tablet. It uses a browser, and it uses Google apps that you might find in the Google Play Store, just like you would find on your Android phone. So it's similar to a tablet, but it has a keyboard, and it's a little less costly. But what they're going to be doing is, towards the end of this year, Google is coming out with a what you might call an AI-driven laptop, and it's going to be called the Google Book. So it's going to have a totally new operating system. Currently, they're calling it Aluminium, but I don't know what the final name is going to be called. Because it's in transition, I would recommend staying away from Chromebooks. Okay, let's talk about some of the components of a computer, and these apply to tablets and laptops as well. So basically you have what's called a motherboard, which is a central hub for all of the components of the computer. The processor is the brains of the computer. So you have what's called the CPU, or the central processing unit. And that's the main brain. You want to look, when you're looking at a processor, they'll tell you what the processor is. It might be, let's say, Intel or AMD. It's going to tell you how many cores it has. The more cores, the better. It's going to tell you, the speed. You want a faster processor because it lets you run things faster. But of course, the ones that have more cores and more speed are going to be also more costly. So you want to see what your budget is. In the Intel world, they have the i3, the i5, the i7, the i9. In AMD, they have the Ryzen 3, 5, 7, 9, and as you go up, they're going to be faster processors. You want one that has a lot of cores on it. The multi-core means it can do multiple tasks at the same time, so that's a good thing. The second type of processor is a GPU, or a graphics processing unit. So computers and laptops many times will have a separate processor that would be doing the graphics, so that would be the GPU. The lower end units will have, the functions of the GPU would be integrated into the CPU, so that they have one processor that tries to do everything. Now that AI is with us, they've come out with what are called NPUs, or neural processing units, and that's what handles all of the AI tasks. And here again, on the lower end units, you're just going to have one processor that tries to handle everything, but doesn't do quite as good a job. So memory, or RAM, random access memory. Memory is it's the short-term storage for doing the work that you might be using the device for. So how much memory do you want? They used to say, 8 gig is good enough. Actually, Windows only originally required 4 gig. But now, we're really looking, with AI applications now, you're probably looking at 16 gig for doing all-around work. And if you're really into like photo editing and video editing, or even games, you probably want something that has about 32 gig. The problem is they're building data centers now all over the world, and the data centers are in desperate need of memory and disk drives, and so the prices have like skyrocketed. So eventually they'll probably come down, but right now prices are high, so you want to take that into consideration. So you may have to look at it maybe a little bit less than what you might have thought you might be getting. For storage, you want to look for solid state drives. Solid state basically is going to be much, much faster, especially like if you're talking about a computer. It's going to be an almost instantaneous boot up compared to what you might have had with the old non-solid state drives. What you really want to look for is is let's say an M.2 NVMe. M.2 is basically, it's kind of like a circuit board that's put into the computer. NVMe stands for non-volatile memory express. And it's fast storage. It's probably the fastest that's out there right now. So any type of solid state is going to be faster than the old magnetic drives, but M.2 NVMe is going to be the fastest. Power supplies, if you're looking at computers, used to be about 250 to 400 on the low end, but it depends now what you're doing. If you're looking for a more high-powered thing for editing or gaming, you might be looking at 500 watts or even 800 watts or more. Okay, so here's a little chart comparing the what you might need between a desktop, a laptop, and a tablet. And it's the same things really apply to any device. So if you're looking, let's say, at the processor, if it's a desktop or a laptop, you probably want to look for something at least an i5, Intel i5 or an AMD Ryzen 5 and up. i3 is going to be slow. If you're just browsing the internet or checking email, it's probably adequate. But anything more than that, you're going to want to go to a more powerful processor. The tablets might have, let's say, an i3, or it might have one of the ARM processors. For memory, well, 8 gig is really for browsing only. If that's all you're doing, then it's fine. If you just want to check your email and do browsing, then you don't need to look for something that's really high-powered with a ton of memory in it. As I say, memory's gotten really expensive these days. So you would look for, but if you are doing more than that, then you would probably want to look at 16 gig or even 32 gig if you're into heavier stuff. The other thing I want to look at is the battery life, and battery life has been lengthening. So typical now is probably at least 8 hours. Typically you're going to see 12 hours on a lot of laptops or more. So you can pretty much expect with a modern day laptop not to have to plug it in at all. Just go all day with it, bring it home, plug it in, and it's ready for the next day. Okay, let's talk a little bit about laptops. Laptops are going to be mobile, just like your tablets. If it stays on your desk, then you really don't need a laptop. I mean, you can buy a laptop and just put it on your desk, but they're designed to be portable, so you can take it outside, take it when you're traveling, and so on. One other thing you might look at is, rather than, if you're doing a lot of traveling, a laptop is one option. It's not the only option. We're going to talk about mini PCs like we're putting into the computer lab. And the mini PCs can be just as portable because they're small. They don't have a screen like a laptop, but you can plug it into a TV or a display screen wherever you're going and then use it there. So it's something that's very portable. You can hold it up in your hand. So that's another option. But a laptop, just like a PC, is going to be able to run programs with more features. So you're not just looking at an app store, loading apps or using a browser. You can do those things, but you can be a lot more productive. So, you know, what are the types of things you use a computer for? You trying to create documents? Are you going in to do editing of photos and videos, or are you just doing browsing and emails? A laptop is very easy to type on because it's got a keyboard that folds right up with the laptop. So if you like to do typing, then the laptop's a good choice. If you don't like to do typing, or if you're more into dictation, you can just talk into the microphone and let the AI translate or convert what you're saying into text. And then you can you could go with a you know, with, let's say, with a mini computer or with a tablet. But you know, laptops are good, and they are still portable, and they're getting a lot lighter than they used to be. So it's not the big heavy thing that you used to have to lug around with you now. Now you can get them; they only weigh a couple of pounds. The other thing you can look at are two-in-ones and all-in-ones, and we'll look at some of those as well. Question with a laptop also is where you're using it. Let me go back one slide. If you're trying to use it outside, you're going to need a much brighter screen than if you're using it inside. And this is true for a tablet as well as a laptop. So you may want to look at the brightness. Brightness is usually measured in nits, N-I-T-S, nits. So if you're trying to find something that'll work outside, you want to go to at least 400, probably 500 nits brightness level. And also look at the weight of the laptop if you're going to be carrying it around. They have gotten a lot lighter, but check the weight and make sure it's one of the lighter laptops. Okay, so we have Windows laptops, we have Apple laptops, and we have two-in-ones, the ones that fold over and convert from a laptop to a tablet. Apple just came out with their what they call the Neo, which is a budget $600 Apple laptop. I'll let Jerry talk about that. Here's an example of a deal on a laptop. This one is it's an HP. It's a pretty large one. So this is a 17-inch laptop. So that's a pretty good size. This is at Amazon. So you're looking at a 17-inch laptop. It's got it reduced because of Prime Days or whatever to $599. So we look at the specs on it, and you should, you want to look and see what they're offering. So it says it's a 2026 edition, so you know this is a nice new laptop. It's got an AMD. AMD is going to be less expensive a little bit than the Intel chips, but you want to look for the faster speed. So 5 is still on the lower end, but it's good. Okay, so you have a Ryzen 5, which is similar to a Intel i5. Remember, there's the 7 and the 9 if you're looking for more power. It's got 16 gig of RAM, which these days is pretty much where you want to start from. It's the minimum. It's got a really big display. It's got over a 17-inch screen, 17.3. It's got a long battery life, which is actually on this one it was 12 hours. So here it'll last all day unless you're using it pretty heavily. So now you want to look intelligently at it. They try to say, oh, well, we're going to give you Office 365 for the web. Well, you should know Office 365 for the web, that's the web version of Microsoft Office, basically. That's always free. So they're not giving you anything. That's just there. So you don't, you want to look at an ad and you want to say, well, what is it really? So, so it may sound like you're getting a lot here, and it's okay, but it's not the the biggest and greatest. It's a nice large screen, but you're getting basically a minimal amount of memory. It'll be adequate for most purposes, but not for really intensive work. So you want to look at that type of thing. If you're looking for something on the budget end, Walmart is now selling a $500 laptop. This is an HP laptop. It's the OmniBook 3. It's the lowest price I've seen anywhere for something like this. It's the OmniBook 3. It's a decent computer. It's not, it's not the best you're going to buy. I mean, OmniBook 5 is, let's say, at least for HPs, is going to be better than an OmniBook 3. And if you see a good price for an OmniBook 5, you probably want to go for that. But the OmniBook 3, this has really decent specs for the price. But again, you want to realize what you're getting, the $500. I mean, yes, they've reduced the price down, but it's not a metal computer. It's probably plasticky. It does have sufficient memory. It's got 16 gig. It's got a small drive, but it is a solid state drive. It's 512 gig, and it's basically competing, let's say, with the MacBook Neo. So they've got the $600 Mac. This is the $500 PC. So if this meets your specs, it's something to look at. It's also available at Costco, but it's a few dollars more at Costco. But like I say, this is the OmniBook 3, not the OmniBook 5, which is a better computer. Okay, so this one is at Costco, and this is a 16-inch laptop. Now the prices come and go here. They put them on sale for a week or two, and then they come up with another sale later on. So this one is only available, I believe, this week, or at least till the middle of the month. But they'll have others similar to this. So this is more on the higher end. If you're looking for, as I say, that one, the $500 laptop was a OmniBook 3. This is an OmniBook 5, and this one has a 16-inch screen, a Ryzen 7. So it's designed for AI, Copilot PC, and so on. And this actually has 24 gigs, so you're getting more than just a 16 gig, and it's got a terabyte drive. Here again for storage, it depends on what your needs are. If you're not doing a lot of, videos require a lot of storage. Photos, not as much, unless you have a lot of photos, and then it'll start building up. Documents use the least amount of storage, but it's a question of how much storage you actually need. So a terabyte might be sufficient for some people, but for others, maybe not so much. Okay, 2-in-1s. As we mentioned, a 2-in-1 is a laptop that runs in tablet mode, so you can fold it over. It has a touch screen, or you can use it with a mouse and keyboard. So here's an examples of two 2-in-1s, and with their prices. And one is an OmniBook 7, and one is an Asus. So you can get an idea what they look like. They kind of fold over, so you can use it as a tablet. This, by the way, was from Costco. Again, these may not still be on sale, but new sales come up all the time. Mini PCs, and if you want to see the mini PCs, this week we're going to be installing the new tops and the computers. But by next week, hopefully, you'll be able to come and work with some of the mini PCs at the lab. You get the same power as you would with a desktop. It's the same types of components, the same ports that you would find on a laptop, but it's much more portable. It's a smaller device. You can hold it in your hand, and it's a little bit less costly than traditional desktops. Here's an example. We're using, at the lab, we're using Geekoms as the brand that we selected. They're the only ones that right now that offer 3-year warranties. Most of the others either have 1 or 2 years. They offer 3. This is one they put on sale recently. It's the A7 Max. We've got the A8 Max at the lab. This one is a Ryzen 9 with 16 gig and a terabyte SSD, solid state drive. So this was an early Prime Day special, but pretty decent price for that. Okay, and then now usually with a PC and with a mini PC or with you're going to have to look at purchasing a monitor separately. Keyboard and mouse may come with the unit, but you also have to think about a webcam, speakers or a soundbar, and a microphone. So if you don't want to buy all those things separately, then you may want to look at either laptops or all-in-ones. So what is an all-in-one? It's an all-in-one it's basically kind of like a laptop that's built into a monitor, and it's going to look something like this. So here's 3 different examples of all-in-ones, and we have a couple of these in the lab as well that you could come to look at. So one thing you may also want to do is possibly look at refurbished units or used devices. Perhaps even look at the Sun City listings as well. So what's going to be changing in the next couple of years? AI is going to be the big thing. So it's going to make computers a lot different than what you're using now. Google Book was just announced in the Google world, the Android world. So that's going to be different. So we don't know what the next version of Windows is going to look like, but we'll see. But those are all things you may want to look at. If you currently have a Windows 10 computer, one thing that you may want to look into is if it's something that's still usable. There are other operating systems you can put on it. You can put on a version of Linux on it, which is kind of makes it look similar to Windows. If you come into the lab, we can help you with that.
We're not prepared to support that.
Okay. All right. So next I'm going to ask Jerry Knight to come up, and he's going to talk about the Apple products.
Just wondered if
We're going to do questions we'll do questions at the end.
Okay, I know we're getting long on time, so I'll try to go through this really fast. The main thing I want you to do is there's a website. I'm going to go to the next page here. That Apple has that you can compare any Apple product. And if you forget these, if you don't have access to these links, you should have them on our files eventually if you can go get them. If you forget, just say compare Apple iPads, and you hit that, and the first thing or second thing that comes up on Google from apple.com, not anybody else, is a comparison tool. And these are ones, and what I was going to show you was there's one for iPads, there's one for Airbooks, MacBook Airs rather, and I would say that probably everybody in this room that wants a laptop, a MacBook Air would be the one you'd want to go to because it's the best balance of price and performance. Anyway, And then there's iMacs, which is Apple's all-in-one, and I'll show you a couple little pictures here, and then we'll be out of here. So you go and look at iPads. There are 3 iPad lines. There's the one in the middle, which is the basic iPad. A lot of our users have that, if that's the one for the no frills, but it's fine. But sometimes people want to go to the one on the right, which is an Air. And how do you know what the heck an Air is compared to an iPad? And there's another one called the Pro, which has got 4 speakers and an OLED screen. So what you do is you click on, or you just scroll this page up. I was going to show you live, but we don't really have time. I can show you if you want to come up after the thing. You scroll down this page, it will give you every feature in that thing. And if you know you want a certain amount of memory or a certain amount of hard drive or whatever, if you understand what that is, then fine. But otherwise, you know that it's got different things and you can make a decision, or we can help you make a decision if you like some help picking one out. So there's one for the iPads, which is the tablets. Here's the Macs, and like I was saying, the MacBook Neo that Shelley was talking about is the new low-cost one. The one big thing on the Neo, it's got AI and a lot of things on it. It does not have a lit-up keyboard. So if that's a thing for you, you can look at that. And there again, you scroll up and you're going to see what all the features are on this page. The MacBook Air 13 is a 13-inch laptop. And then they have a MacBook Pro, which I think most of the people in here are not going to need a Pro. Some of the people doing some high-end photography and videography and that type of stuff, they go for the Pros. But there again, you can go to this chart and you can play games with these. You can use the pull down and compare these. And if you have a really old iPad or Mac, you can actually usually pick up the old ones and compare it, what you have, to what you're going to buy. So it's a really easy way to get off through all that mumbo jumbo, all the bits and bytes and feeds, and you can figure out what you might want to have and how much you want to spend for it. And then you can actually build it before you buy it. And you can go to Apple, you can go to Best Buy, you can go to Costco. Generally, Apple stuff, I should mention, is fair trade pricing, so it doesn't vary a lot from from supplier to supplier, but there are specials. And Apple right now is using this little terminology called M5, which is their processors they use now are not Intel, so they call them, they're an ARM processor, and they're called an M series. M5 is the current one. If you want to save a few bucks, you might be able to find a brand new M4 somewhere. And I got an M4 iPad Pro and I saved about $300. And it does everything that the M5 does, it's just maybe that much slower. Nobody cares. So in the MacBooks, I'm going to go back to that just a second. I have been recommending to some of my friends that they go ahead and grab the MacBook Air 15-inch. All of us are getting older eyes. That extra couple inches really helps on the screen, and it's actually just a slightly newer product, and that always helps you with Apple as far as how long you're going to have it for. That's the laptops. Then Shelley was talking about the minis that we're using in the lab. Apple has their own mini. They've had for quite a time, and it's called the Mac Mini. Most people in here, if you took your old desktop thing, that's the big giant box you have to drag into the lab for help on, the Mini will do just as good a job. It can use the same keyboard, the same mouse, the same monitor you're using, or you can update all that stuff too when you're ready. So it's the same thing. You pick Windows or you pick Apple. Doesn't matter. It'll all work on the same material, or you can buy the Apple accessories for it. Then actually one of my favorites on here, we do have one in the lab. We have an M3 Mac or iMac. That's Apple's all-in-one. It's a bargain. I will tell you right now. It's got the M4 processor in it right now, which is perfect. Like I said, it's perfectly fine, very fast. It's got the amount of memory, like Shelley was talking about, 16 gig of memory and 512 gigabytes of storage and all that jazz. But it has this fantastic screen on it. Apple builds all their screens to what they call as Retina, which means you can't see the individual dots with your naked eye. So what they do with this, like I say, come back to the lab and look at it. I was running a 4K video on this thing. It looks fantastic. So I would just say, and it's $12.99. You can buy a workable computer for $12.99. And I know it's not $5.99. I know everyone's a $5.99 computer, but a $12.99 computer that just looks fantastic. It's 24 inches. It's big enough to see without your bifocals on, and you can keep going. I think that's all I got. So if you need to run back to that page, I'll be glad to run you through anything. And if you have questions, thank you very much.
Stay up there for questions. Stay for questions, yeah. Questions.
I'm sorry for the long meeting. I see a few of you left, but if you have, I don't want to keep you any longer. If you have questions, they'll be here. You can come up here and ask the questions.
Okay.
Go out and enjoy the nice day before it starts to rain again.
I wasn't able to do a lot of show and tell, but I do have an iPad Pro M4 here if you want to see the screen or play with it or do whatever. See the keyboard, whatever.